Hi, everybody. Jeremy Siskin here, and I'm here with a friend today. I'm here with Wayne Tucker. Say hi, Wayne.
Hey, how
Um,
you doing? Great to see you,
yeah,
Jeremy. It's been too long.
it's really good to see you. Wayne is a really in-demand trumpet player in New York City, teaching at Purchase College now at SUNY Purchase. And I've got his bio up, and it has a list of people he's played with: Al Foster, Kurt Elling, and Taylor Swift, and Neo, and David Crosby, and doing a lot of stuff as a leader. So just this an in-demand dynamic presence, and about to publish his first book as an author, which I have here: 100 Musical Thoughts by Wayne Everest Tucker. um, you want to tell about what the genesis of this book, how
Yeah,
it came to be?
yeah. So this came to fruition as I was on tour and just had a lot more time to think. Um, and as I was thinking, I was imagining, that I was living the life that the people who I admired when I was cultivating my musical career. I was living that life that they were living, playing a lot of the same types of gigs they were playing and getting some of the same acclaim or the same love that they were getting. And as this was happening, I realized that I felt the same way inside, as if I was still in this process and I hadn't really fully developed and didn't have a full confidence in everything that I was doing yet. Even if other people were starting to see me in that way that I saw my heroes.
Right. So at the same time, maybe you were writing this for the people who are looking up to you. Maybe you're writing it a little bit for yourself, like to process and
Oh
come.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was literally just like my daily journal. You know, it was just that. It was my daily journal that happened to turn into something that I was sharing with people.
Yeah, and I got to witness, because originally you were just posting on Facebook that here's my musical thought of the day, here's my thought of the day, and I looked forward to them. They were always really thought provoking. And I shouldn't speak in the past tense because you're still posting some.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, like, yeah, on Facebook it was like, oh, what's Wayne's musical thought, and then I always look for the Benny Green stories too. Like, what's Benny posting about his past?
Oh, that's cool.
Because they both just like really made me think, made me question some of the things that maybe I took for granted. Could you give like some? I know you got a couple picked out for us. Could you give like just a popcorn example of what are some of the sorts of subjects that you're talking about, before we
Yeah,
really get into those first couple that I know you want to share?
yeah, yeah. It's really just everything. Just as I say, it's 100 musical thoughts. They're literally just the thoughts I have either while I'm standing on stage and I'm in the middle of playing a song and I'm like, remember this. You got to jot this down. Right? Or whether I'm walking down the street thinking on the way to the gig, or whether I'm sitting, in the room where I am right now, like in the music space in my apartment where I practice every day.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, just any moment those thoughts came to me about anything related to music and how that could be a source of guidance or inspiration or anything in my life, I just started to jot them down. And then as they started I would jot down like just like a couple key words or a sentence or two, and then each morning when I would wake up, I would check out those those things that I had started and try to complete them.
Yeah. And there are some about music as a career, about how best to build your career. I know you just posted something about whether you should play gigs that don't, feel musically satisfying or not. That I think you said
Yeah,
something about when you move to a new city, maybe you have to do that to meet
right.
people. But maybe as you progress as an artist, you want to start to be more selective about
Yeah.
what you take on.
Yeah, so I'll tell you that thought crossed my mind as I signed up my one of my performance ensembles, a small group of 7 musicians,
Hmm.
to perform for incoming students
Mm.
at Purchase College earlier this week, and I saw
Uh-huh.
that it upset my singer that it wasn't like a show. It
Mm.
was a little bit of a background thing.
Yeah.
And it made me think, yeah, if you're new in this game, you need to be doing that. Or if you're
Hmm.
new to a place and you don't know people, you might have to do that.
Uh-huh.
It was really just watching her and thinking to myself, she's upset, but I'm actually happy that she's upset because it's going to make her practice. She's
It's a
not going to
lesson.
want to be in
Yeah.
a position of doing these types of gigs, you know?
Mm. Uh-huh.
and or it will make I told the whole group that, like, yeah, if you're doing something that you don't think you love, you need to figure out the things that you love about it. Maybe you love the bond that you with the band. Maybe you love, just trying to guide the air through your instrument. Maybe you love hearing one chord change to the next, or the way the bass and drums interact, or maybe you love just grabbing one person from the audience who is, ready to accept the blessings that the musical vibrations are,
Yeah.
right? So just to be tapped into that. So either this motivates you to say, I don't ever want to do that again. I'm going to work really hard,
Mm.
or I'm going to figure out what I really like about that because that's a situation I'm going to encounter as a musician.
Yeah, that makes me think about. I think about this so often. We all play gigs, even as we get more choosy. That you mentioned before we were starting filming that some feel easy and some feel really hard. We all play those hard gigs. My teacher at Eastman was this guy Harold Danko, great pianist and really fine teacher. And he grew up in Youngstown, Ohio, which is like a steel town. And he told me that he did a lot of hotel piano gigs, bar stuff, and his colleagues would be complaining. And when it came time, for him to complain or when it was kind of his turn to share, he was just like, I grew up in a steel town. Like I could be in the steel mines. Like I'd so rather be playing piano than, doing manual labor. But we tend to get upset about those kinds of things or tend to get dark,
Oh
when
yeah,
it's like, wow, this is such a beautiful career compared to so many other things we could be doing.
absolutely. Even if you're playing background music, it's just 1,000 times better than being in a steel mill.
Yeah, I think so. No
Yeah.
offense to my big steel worker audience. I know that's a big
Oh no,
segment.
props.
No.
It's the opposite. Props to them. Um, no, seriously though, like that takes so much to get up and do that every day. Like,
Yeah,
if you don't think you can go play a background gig every day, can you actually go to the steel mill every day? No.
that's right. Yeah, it's
That's
like
what I
it
when
is
I taught
work.
about
There's a
this.
work element of it. You know.
Yeah, that's what I went and impart to my students that like, yeah, if you think this is hard, that other thing's way harder. You need to
Yeah,
practice.
yeah.
You know?
And then I think you also had something recently about like whether to play in between takes or in between rehearsal,
Oh yeah.
uh, which sounds like maybe it's a pet peeve.
Oh yeah. Well, I was producing someone's record on
Hmm.
Tuesday, last Tuesday, and in between every take, people are just playing, and I'm like, hey, we only have a certain number of time. Do not play anything in between takes.
Yeah.
And then they would start playing again and just waste so much of our time, and it put us right up to the minute. And for me, like quite honestly, I thought to myself, I can hire these people from the session again. I cannot hire these.
Wow. Yeah.
That was my takeaway from it. I'm like, I can hire you, but I cannot hire you because you make me look bad. You know?
Totally.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Well, do you want to share those two? I think you said it's the first two in the book that you wanted to share, which are somewhat more profound thoughts. Those other ones are more practical. These are a little bit, I think, more profound
Yeah.
and
So the
poetic.
book starts with the very first thought is the study of music can teach you the way to learn anything in life. Find something that inspires you or find inspiration in the things you do. Practice, fail, isolate the difficult parts and practice them on repeat. Put it all together. Practice with others. Fail, isolate the difficult parts again and practice them on repeat. Do it all again on stage and fail. Find pleasure in the process and appreciate the community that is created through the communal experiences created. Ultimately, music has been the greatest and most continual source of growth and happiness in my life. And to me, that's just saying that you need to focus. You need to expect for things to be difficult and for you to fail. And if you're willing to accept that, you can get through anything. So if I said today I want to become a scientist, I know in my heart that I could do that because I can focus enough to read long chapters. And I know
Hmm.
that even if I read an entire chapter of something difficult, like a difficult science like textbook, I know that I'm going to get to some parts that I don't understand.
Mm.
Rather than giving up, I'm going to do it on repeat, and if that doesn't work, I'll do it again. If that doesn't work,
Mm.
I'm going to do it again,
Hmm.
right? That's just to say that no matter what it is, you can learn something just by having that mindset and attitude.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and the second thought of the book is the original essence of music was for communication, celebration, and community. My first musical experiences were at home with family and later in school and at church. As a professional musician, music has mostly been a performance based activity for me for years, but playing for civil rights protests and busking with my band during the height of the pandemic reminded me of the original reasons for musical creation. Never forget the true essence of your art form. And that's just to say, I think I did forget the essence of it. It was a job to me. And I always was a person who woke up loving music. Seriously, sometimes I sleep with the trumpet in my bed. It's the last thing I do before I sleep, and even the first thing I've done in the morning. I know for a lot of people, like, yo, I need a second. And I'm like, for me, it honestly feels fine all the time. I really still love music. But it was gigs that kind of like, I lost myself in that sometimes going, I need to be the hippest. Or I want to play something that is celebrated or something where I'm celebrated, right? But ultimately, it's for communication, celebration, and community. Um, the last one is probably the one that I feel the most these days. Just that I saw during the pandemic, my community needed that music. Um, Now I see that community through my students and the people who still come out to my shows, who met us in the pandemic, and that ball's kept rolling. Okay, it hasn't gotten smaller; it's gotten bigger. Um, and yeah, yeah. Just to say, it's not about being great. It's not about myself. It's not about accomplishing things. It's about giving people those vibrations that connect us all and help everyone to get through their day. That's really what it is to me.
I'm sorry, I thought I was unmuted. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, if you can play from that perspective, I think we play differently, right?
Oh yeah.
If we can get the ego out of it and play to share. So, who do you imagine as the prime audience for this book? Music students, amateurs, professionals, everybody in between.
Personally, I wanted to make something that could be geared towards anybody. So, whatever your job is, everyone who has a job, there are parts of their job that are really important and parts of their job that feel important but might get in the way of the true essence of the job,
Hmm.
right? And it could be as I never really thought about this, but like for example, if you work at that steel mill,
Yeah.
it's really important that you do the work they ask you to do and collect all the steel.
Yeah.
But it's also really important that you do it in a way that's safe for both you and for the other people around you.
Hmm.
And you do it in like a lot of those people are working that job for 30 years in a row.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to do that every day, it's also really important that you work in a way that makes the people around you feel good and be happy to see you each day.
Yeah.
Know that they're safe, they can trust you, that they can communicate to you if things are difficult, right? And so
Hmm.
like you might go in there and be like, I'm going to collect more than everyone and be out of here.
Mm.
But it's actually more important to cherish your community,
Mm. And
you
it'll
know?
give you long, like just speaking selfishly, that's the path towards longevity.
Exactly. Yeah, you'll have longevity. That's really what it is. It's like you need to think about like how can by helping others
Hmm.
first can you help, first you want to help others and in turn it will help you,
Yeah.
right? And not because it'll help you, but because that's important,
Right.
you
And I
know?
think our culture like promotes kind of the opposite with virality and a culture that's kind of you need
Exactly.
you need to compete for eyes. You need to compete to get people looking at you. You need to produce a lot of content. It needs to be flashy.
Exactly.
It needs to be edited, snappy. All of these things.
Yes. Yes. And for
But
me,
how
I'm
many people then have a very short career? Like maybe they gain a ton of followers, but then they don't know how to make anything, or those followers forgot why they even followed that person in the first place because it was just this
exactly.
one thing they made that was flashy.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember meeting James Moody when I was 22.
Uh huh.
Working with him at this program and hearing some incredible young musicians like prodigies.
Yeah.
And I remember James Moody being like, "That's cool, but what really matters is that you can do this for like 30 to 50 years. That's
Wow.
actually what matters, so that you can, because you're going to reach more people. And that's the whole point of this music is to bond people together and to heal people for a long time,
Mm.
right? That flashy thing, you're a one-hit wonder. That's for self, right? But
Mm.
ultimately, this should be for others. Like my bell of my trumpet is facing the other way. It's not pointed towards me, right?
Uh
So
huh.
it has to be for others.
Yeah, and do you feel like as you get older, um, you're not that old, but we've been in this career a little while at this
Yeah,
point. It like the you realize that it is so deeply relational, like both between other musicians and between your fans or whoever is coming out to your shows. And the more I've hung out around some of the greats, I realize that they're the same way. I would think like in my mind, you get up to a certain level and it's like you're just showing up and you're playing the venue. But no, they know every manager, they know every owner, they've got
yeah,
their people coming out that they like are really warm to. And in fact, it's often the opposite to me that actually they're just they're able to bring this huge community together instead of being so great that they're up on a pedestal.
exactly, exactly. I mean, well, yeah, yeah. Like, what would we do if we got to that place and no one could comprehend how great we were, right? Like, if you didn't do it with community, if there was no
Hmm.
connection to others,
Hmm.
right? If you were only a solo pianist or something and you only put out your own records and you never hung with anybody,
Uh-huh.
like, yeah, how much impact would it have on the world?
Hmm.
It it might someday,
Sure.
but also probably not.
Hmm.
You
It's
know?
yeah. I mean, jazz is a social music and it's a folk music, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
And
And I
that
just need to be reminded of that because we go through so much to be professional musicians, you know?
totally, yeah, and all the schooling and all the content that people consume
Right.
can be a distraction. I've got to be able to play like this person and like this person in this style and this gig,
Hmm.
which maybe in some ways is true, but also if you got a core belief in sound and attitude, maybe it's
Yeah.
not.
No, no, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Well, I don't want to take up any more of your time, but 100 Musical Thoughts is available. You can find it on Wayne's Instagram at Wayne Everest. Is that right?
You got it.
You can find it on Amazon. And by the way, if you guys like it, I know as a self published author, like the best thing you could do is give it a nice Amazon review. So buy it first and then give it a really nice Amazon review. I imagine this would be like a great graduation present for somebody who's going to school to study music. Like this would be such a cool graduation present. This seems like a great gift to give. That would be a very generous, nice gift to give and receive in my mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anything
Absolutely.
else? Anything else you want
Man,
to say, Wayne?
no, no. I just want to say thank you to you, Jeremy. Like, for those who don't know, Jeremy went to school with my older brother, and so I
Yeah.
always admired you.
Oh,
Really, and I remember hearing you in New York and admiring your musicianship. And so just to chat with you and to see how humble and selfless you are, really, is you do the thing that I speak of. You're giving to the community that I'm a part of, and I really appreciate you for that.
oh, that's really nice, Wayne. Well, you're
Yeah.
welcome on the channel anytime if you ever want to come out here and teach something else, promote something else.
Oh, dude, I
Hope
would
to
love
hope to
to.
see you again soon.
Yes, sir.
All right, take care, buddy.